recording anyway?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Celestita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and today we're reading Saturnastra. We're doing with Saturnastra Karina. This is lesson 7, part 4. Part 4. Never mind the hand that I'm holding up. Ignore it. The 5 other visitors were ladies in waiting of the Alpha of the Dragon Riders. Their current Alpha was an orc maiden named Homa. Normally the Dragon Riders would have gotten a new Alpha by then, but Homa had turned out to be quite the savvy leader. She was both kind and wise despite her young age. She was currently cruising Veragerung on a super top secret mission of finding a mate for herself. Since her rank isolated her from her peers, she went incognito to Veragerung to try her luck. Currently, she was roaming the schools, and since her ladies in waiting were bored of waiting, they entered the first random classroom they found. The class happened to belong to Karina. The first girl was called BDB, and the other was Ariel. They had no last names because they would have been raised by dragons. Their true laconic names were more like growls. They just added more vowels into the name to make it easier to pronounce when talking to outsiders. So like, those are dragon names. No vowels whatsoever. After the usual tirade, Karina settled down to start her lesson. The crazy story for this lesson started as thus. So there I was, walking up like normal, and I went for my bath, and I noticed that I had a lot of odd veins. You know, like those things you got on your skin. Slowly, over the course of the day, I got blisters and my vision started fading. From time to time, I was compelled to moan, and when my jaw started dropping, and I had a weird, tired way of walking. And then I realized what the problem was. What was it? Asked Casimir, looking concerned. I was turning into a zombie. What? It's a degenerative condition like vampirism. If left untreated, you die, and then you become a type of undead. It is real unpleasant stuff, said Karina. Is there a plague in the city? Asked Miko, alarmed. As he said this, he moved away from Karina and those around him. Like, he just moved his desk, like, he just, like, this social distancing. It's a dream, you dope, said Karina, trying to calm Miko. Dreams sometimes warn you of future problems, suggested Lucian. Only she's a psychic, said Suntavia, who had graced the classroom with her presence. She had sweetened up ever since she had found her better half. Her better half was made of porcelain, and she had rediscovered a childhood hobby she used to share with her dead mother. Now that she had more idle time, she was doing an apprenticeship to learn how to make porcelain dolls. It kept her mind at peace, and on the weekend she went to talk with a listener. Listeners was a profession created by Marduke. This was what Marduke called a psychologist and psychiatrist. Most of the listeners in active duty were retired priests. They no longer did sermons or marches or tended to the temple. They still bothered with the flock. A week or so ago, Suntavia had suffered a bit of a breakdown due to her lack of sleep and from night terrors. She became convinced that the dream was real, and it got a bit messy with her threatening to kill her cousin for removing her flowers from the garden because he had plans for her. She was not even that avid of a garden, nor did she hate the fellow in the least. Now every night she drank lime flower tea before going to bed, and she slept like a baby. This was difficult indeed because the servants had to wrap her up as one does a baby. So they had to wrap her up like a baby for her to sleep like a baby. Because otherwise she would get murderous from lack of sleep. Karina, changing the subject, said, well, the whole zombie thing is not important. The lesson is not to forget that you have flesh and blood. You get so caught up in your own nonsense that you do not notice yourself getting sicker and sicker till the problem becomes impossible to ignore. Which reminds me, there is now 5 listeners on the 3rd floor of the library. The listeners' names are written on the door. I don't know, said Casimir. It sounds like I made a career, if you ask me. It is more or less, but at least some people might get a kick out of them. Not me, though. Not so much. Marduke thinks they are useful for coping with crippling depression. You can pretend it's not there, but then one day you wake up moaning and drooling like a zombie, said Karina. It is okay to ask for help as all, but also be careful about the edges. It is not safe for weak-minded people to unburden themselves on the wrong person, and then end up getting blackmailed or worse, right, Letodus? Why are you signaling me out, why, Letodus? You know what you did, said Karina, frowning. You know what you did? You know what you did? The conversation on nonsense and the undead continued for a bit. In the end, Karina said, since we have some time, we should go to temple. Why? Asked Carmela. Well, most of the listeners have religious background, so you should see what it is all about, said Karina. I'm going to tap out of this. I am religious in my own way, said Casimir, getting up and closing the door behind him. Lucian and Janos got out to catch the fellow in the stairs, but when they opened the door to look, he was nowhere to be seen. Casimir always had a knack for disappearing on you when he did not want to be found. The students, together with Karina, wandered about a bit through the temples in the city. The temples were mainly for the popular gods like Lara, Arasa, Hemi, Hesin, Lisa. Time?
Dennis.
The biggest temple of them all was the one dedicated to Hemi, the goddess of truth. A weird architect was still working on it with the tiny details and the nice acoustics. You could also have a conversation in one room and be heard in another. The decorations were distorted versions of real things. It drew attention of how the truth was distorted by others. In the center there was a large, round, blue opal. The closer one got to the center of the temple, the less distorted the architecture features became. Eventually, everything looked beautiful and serene, like a classical Greek statue. As for the other gods, they only had mini chapels. So, like over there, like the goddess of truth was the one most popular right now in the city. The students and the Tagalongs drew near the whitish, bluish, round sphere. It was not often that the temple relic was left outside for all to see. The relic had recently been rediscovered. It was said to be the point of origin of the curse, or blessing of the berserkers. According to lore, a thief had snuck into the temple of Hemi and had killed the priest to get an opal ring from his finger. When he put it on the finger, he was compelled to tell the truth, and the ring could not be removed. In the end, the nameless thief cut it off his own finger. The curse did not end with the removal of the ring, and it was passed on from him to his descendant, and whichever person was unfortunate enough to come in contact with his blood. In a sense, the truth spread like an infectious disease, and it still does. This is why carriers of the cursed blood are careful with whom they mingle with, because it is a power they jealously guard. So they can spread the truth like one of those weird germs. As for the opal ring, it eventually grew in size till it was impossible to ignore. To appease the goddess of truth, the berserkers made a temple for her, and she blessed them with the ability to tell when others are lying, and with the ability to tell the truth when it is convenient for them to do so. Carmela stared at the large one opal, asked the pertinent question. Is it true that the berserker's power is passed through their blood? Yes and no. Let's say that you kill a poor fellow and take his blood. That will not make you gain the blessings of the goddess. And with most divine gifts, there are exceptions to the norm. Still, if it was up to the goddess, we would all be forced to tell the truth and be unable to lie. That sounds terrible if you ask me, said Casimir. How so? Asked Jano. Well, what if you have a secret that you do not want anyone to know about, said Casimir. I suppose that might be a problem if that secret keeps you safe from harm. Still, one way or another, everything comes to light, even if it takes a millions of years, and when it does, it no longer matters, said Karina. I don't get what you're saying, said Lucia. It means that sometimes the truth takes so long to be revealed that when it does, it no longer matters, like finding out that there really was a bunny on the moon, making an elixir of immortality, living with a princess, or that you can travel through time and space with the power of your mind. Both became obsolete with the creation of the warp drive and the crystal, but pay me no mind, said Karina, remembering that she was talking to normal people. She drew a little nearer to the opal. The distortions in the opal reflected back Karina's true form. Sighing, she said, you know, when I was way small, I was able to speak more openly with my fellows. I could say the strangest things without people looking at me like I was a weird or something. What I'm trying to tell my fellow bored classmates is that I'm tired. And I'm not even tired. There was a strange pause of silence that followed, in part The silence came in the form of Vicus. He was roaming the temple, looking at all the cool, distorted figures, and when he drew near the opal, his visage became hideous and warped. It caused quite a fright on the students and those assembled, but it was a scene that one had to get used to. Time?
4 minutes, 30 seconds.
Aside from making a big fuss about the noise, the creature was harmless. On the weekend, Lucian played very quiet chess with Vicus, and one time he got him so quickly that Vicus threw the board, making some noise. Vicus could be rather infantile, but he tried to maintain an air of being cool, supernatural entity. After the visit to the final temple and making some runs to the chapel, the students went on their way. Letodus lingered a little, and Karina asked Letodus, "You want to get married?" "Sure, awesome, but don't I need to ask your father for permission or something?" asked Letodus. "I don't see why you have to," said Karina. "It is not as if you are going to sleep with him, and besides, he knows." "So how long do you want to do the courtship for?" asked Letodus. "When I ask you for marriage, I meant like right now. We unite under the eyes of God or something, and we start living our life as one person maybe, till one gets bored or dead," said Karina. "Don't you want to have some stupid wedding or something? I hear that it's all the rave among the pretty ladies of the court," said Letodus. "If you want a fancy ceremony, then by all means, but you better find somebody else to follow you in that charade," said Karina. "Why do you want a private wedding? Are you ashamed of me?" asked Letodus. "No, it is fine enough, that's all. After we are married, we can put an article on the newspaper for the rest of the city to be quick on the updates," suggested Karina. "Won't that be something for my poor mother to find out about our marriage from a newspaper?" said Letodus, laughing nervously at the idea. "She could not find out at all, if it pleases you, but I'm not the type of person to withstand ceremonies and formalities. We were born into different worlds, but at least we originated from the same world, so that is something to bond over," said Karina. "I don't follow anything that you are saying," said Letodus. "Other than serving as a topic of idle gossip, what other uses is there for a public wedding?" asked Karina. "It is a big waste of money, and it is a magnet for bad luck. Last time somebody from my family had a big showstopper, it ended in tragedy." "I see," said Letodus, taking things in earnest. "Well, you don't need to answer right away. We can get married quickly tonight at the temple or not. It is your choice," said Karina, departing. Letodus walked after Karina, and he detained her by grabbing her elbow. When she turned around, Letodus took that chance to finally kiss her on the lips. He said, looking earnestly at her, "We can get married tonight, if it pleases you." "Yay, I finally had my way," said Karina, hugging her fellow. With this minor result, the pair went their separate way. When the night fell, they met with one another in front of the relic. A priest of heaven could not be found on short notice, but Karina was able to acquire Leaf, a friend and priest of Eura. Coming with him was the stilt sponge figure Lucia with her angel wings. Time?
1 minute, 30 seconds.
She was to be used as a witness. It worked just as well because Lucia could not speak, not even write with her nubby little hand. She did poke well with them. Karina appeared wearing a simple black dress with a red line under the chest and another going from over the shoulder. As for Letono, he wore his Sunday best, even though there was no such thing as Sunday in that world. He wore a rococo like a caballo with knee-length long pants, the overcoat, and the white frilly shirt, and black socks. Time?
1 minute.
Alright, we'll continue this later. Bye-bye and God bless.